What in the world is music licensing? If you're here, you probably just heard about this concept of music licensing, or you've heard about it recently and you're so intrigued. You're like, what the heck is that? I make music, man. That's all I do. What is this music licensing? Is that something I have to subscribe to? I have to pay money for someone to license my music? What is that? I'm here to tell you that it is an amazing thing that if you haven't heard of it before, you're going to be really enamored with it. Music licensing is not something you have to pay for. It's something people pay you for. The right to license your music from you and to put it in projects like films, TV shows, ads, trailers, video games, on radio, on records. That's a license that they have to get to put it on records. When another artist cuts your song, that's technically a license. Okay, music licensing is the concept of licensing your music. And we're going to talk about that today, and you're just going to love it. Let's dive in. Welcome to the License Your Music podcast, where I'm here to give you all the tools you need to license your music to film, TV, ads, trailers, video games, and more, so that you can earn passive income and obtain creative freedom. My name's Jody Friedman. I'll be your host. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, whether you're watching with me here on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I really appreciate it. I have a ton of free content for you that I think you're going to love, and it's going to really benefit you in your career. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for following us. And if you haven't been by our website, make sure you do come there. We've got free guides available. Usually right now there's one called How to Get Your Music Heard by Music Supervisors. We're going to touch on what music supervisors do today in today's lesson, in today's episode. We're going to touch on that and talking about music licensing and what it is, why you should do it. Also, it's March 8th, 2021 when I'm recording this. Right now, as of today, about 4 hours ago, my music licensing masterclass opened up for enrollment. It's open for the next 8 days, and then it closes for enrollment at midnight. So make sure you come by and check that out. Our masterclass is meant to teach you the business of music licensing. If you don't understand the business, you're at a huge disadvantage to people who are already doing it that really do get the business, because professionals like working with other professionals. I'm a music supervisor. I'm a buyer a lot of the time, and I do not like working with people, including artists, that do not understand the business at all. So it's important to understand the business. That's why I started my masterclass. Make sure you come by and check that out. If it's not open while you're listening to this, it's not open for enrollment, chances are I will open it again for enrollment. So make sure you get on our wait list. Just by being on our list, you're on our wait list, and you'll be informed of when that does open again, if it does open again. So what is music licensing? I like to compare music licensing to real estate. Why do I do that? Well, think about a house. When you build a house, whether you're hiring a company to build it for you or you're building it with your bare hands. Let's use the analogy of you're building it from scratch with your bare hands, brick and mortar. You build that house. That is your property. You own that property. You've built that property. You've created that property, and you can sell it to somebody, or you can lease it to somebody. You can rent it to someone. If you rent it to someone, you have an agreement with that person that says they can live there for a certain amount of time. They have to pay you a certain amount of dollars to live there. And certain terms are defined, like you have to follow these rules and I have to follow these rules. And that's all defined in this agreement. Music licensing is the same, except instead of a physical, tangible property, it's an intellectual property, also called an IP. An intellectual property is made from the human intellect, things like copyrights, trademarks, plays, like on Broadway, plays, those are intellectual properties. So copyrights surround your music. When you create your music, when you write a song, you own the copyright to that song. And that literally means the right to copy that song. Only you have the right to create copies of your song. No one else can do that. Now, if you create someone else's song, if you infringe on someone else and you put some type of lyric or melody into your original work from someone else, then you're infringing on someone else's copyright. Only they have the right to create copies of their works. So that's copyright. And when you license your music, you're licensing the copyright to your music. And there's two main copyrights surrounding music licensing. There's a copyright to the composition and a copyright to the sound recording. The composition is the words and the music that you create. The sound recording is an actual record, a CD, an MP3, vinyl, an 8-track, a recording into your phone. That's a record. It's a sound recording, and you can copyright that sound recording and license that to other individuals or companies to license it. That's what music licensing is. You're creating a piece of property, intellectual property, and you're licensing it to somebody. If it's a film, you're saying, I want to license this to you, or you want to license it from me, great. Here's what it's going to cost. You can use it in perpetuity. You can have it air in North America or worldwide. You can put it on YouTube, and I expect to be paid this amount, and it's due to me by this time. It's all done by contract. It's a license agreement, no different from renting your property and having a leasing agreement in place with someone. There is an important distinction I'd like to make, and that is the difference between licensing and selling something. If you build a home, you can sell it to somebody. If you do that, you transfer the deed to them. They then own the title for that property. You no longer own it. You've sold it to them. They paid you. Same with music. You can sell your music to somebody. It's your property. It's your intellectual property. You can sell it, and then it's no longer yours. If you, however, license it, you keep ownership over that music, and you license it again and again and again. Okay? So there's a distinct difference to make there between selling something and licensing something. Why do you want to license your music? This is the fun part. Why do you want to do it? There's so many benefits that come with licensing your music. The main one being you can create music, which is what we as creators, as musicians who love music want to do. We want to create music. You can do this full time with music licensing, and you can earn a good income from licensing your music. Whereas if you're chasing a hit song, you have to you have to land a hit song, and you actually do a license for that hit. Someone does a mechanical license to cover your song. That's not what we're going to talk too much about here, but you do that license and you get a hit song, and let's say it sells 1 million copies. And if you happen to be the sole writer, you're going to make $90,000 in the US, 9.1 cents per sale off 1 million copies. It's $90,000. You're going to make that. Is that enough to sustain you for a lifetime? Probably not. You're going to need multiple hit songs. It is so hard to get a hit song. It's not impossible. There are people that do it. But to sustain with a career, to have a lifelong career, earning money from your music, if you're not a touring artist, if you're a touring artist, that's its own thing. That's separate from licensing. And you can do both, but that's its own thing. There's income surrounding being a touring artist. And today, there's really not because of COVID. Unfortunately, there's not. So licensing is a great place to be. If you were touring and you're listening to this because you want to get into music licensing, good for you. It's a smart move. You can do both. It's not going to take away from you touring. It's not going to take away from you chasing a hit song. You can still do that. But licensing for productions, getting into production music, which is what I do in films and TV shows and ads and trailers, all that licensing money is regular income that just comes in and comes in and comes in. And you get that bonus check from ASCAP or BMI or CSAC, that royalty money. That's the next part of why you should license your music. You create a perpetual royalty stream for your music. Perpetual, forever, royalty stream. Okay, technically, it's the life of the owner plus 70 years after they die, and then it goes public domain. It's not really forever, but for your lifetime, for your kids, for your grandkids, probably your great-grandkids too, they're going to be getting this royalty income forever for their lifetime, okay? Why else? You can gain fans through licensing your music. You can license your song in a TV show or in an Apple commercial or in a film, in a montage scene, or as an end title credit, or on a video game, in FIFA soccer video game or something like that. And you gain a ton of new fans, especially if you market it right on social media and just through your newsletter and to your existing fan base. The word of mouth will spread. Wow, what song is that? People will Shazam you and they'll find you. You'll gain new fans from licensing your music in products, in projects. Your music's heard worldwide by millions of people. These productions air around the world. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, these are worldwide entities. Productions are airing worldwide, especially today in the day of streaming. So there's, and not to mention with that, there is so much content being created. And that's one thing about music licensing that you'll want to know. The music licensing business surrounds the music business, but it is the film and entertainment business. It's supporting content. You're serving the content creators, the film producers, the TV show producers. That's your client when you're licensing your music, not record labels, not publishers. That's not who you're pitching your music to unless you're going after artist cuts. What I do with production music is serving the content creators that are creating productions, producers. Those are YouTube content creators. Each and every one of the YouTube content creators sitting like I am now, creating content for YouTube. I am my own producer. I'm producing this and I'm putting it on YouTube. I am a producer. This is a piece of content. If you want your music in my show, you got to license it to me, or rather I have to license it from you. Okay. So we're all producers when we create content that's video that we then release through some type of network, and YouTube is a network. So is Netflix, so is Hulu, so is HBO, Showtime, ABC, NBC, CBS, FX, AMC. These are all networks with a ton of products that they put out regularly. People will always have a need to be entertained. In fact, during COVID, there was a period where everything dipped for a moment while Hollywood was shifting its workflow and figuring out what to do next. And then it just started booming. Things started picking up, and it's been on an upward trend since, because everyone's at home wanting to find more and more entertainment now. So licensing is a great place to be. Now is a great time to do it. There really is never a bad time to get into it. But that's just another reason of why you want to license your music. There's such a need for it. You can set your own schedule. That's a really nice part of music licensing. You set your own schedule. You do it when you want. However, if you really get into it and you're on the right people's radar, they're going to send you briefs. And that's a music search saying, hey, so-and-so, I'm looking for this type of music. That last one you sent me was right on. Can you get me something by tonight at 5 p.m.? So you have to be able to move fast to get the spots. You got to be able to move fast. So yeah, you set your own schedule. You can travel. You can work from anywhere over the internet and phone. But you have to be able to respond quickly to clients' needs. Lastly, it's just fun. It's fun. Licensing your music is fun. You get to create music and craft it for different types of mediums, from trailers. Trailers are their own things, to video games, to commercials, advertising. There's a certain sound that you need to get into ads. We're not going to go too far into that here, but down the line, I'll probably have a course on licenseyourmusic.com where we talk about this further, because it's definitely something I have a lot of experience with and have done. And I'm happy to share that news with you and how that process works. There's a lot to it. So, the whole point of music licensing is to ensure that copyright owners are compensated for their words. And that's what music licensing is. You create a copyright, you license it out to others, and you want to do this because it's fun and there's a lot of flexibility with it, and you can really build up that royalty income. The more placements you get, the more royalties you'll get. And that's back-end public performance royalty income you get from ASCAP and BMI. If you're watching here on YouTube, there are other videos. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, come by our YouTube site at License Your Music. And there's a ton of videos on all the things that I've touched on here. What I haven't touched on is what a music supervisor is. Those are the people that you're pitching your music to, the gatekeepers that kind of work on the productions, and they keep quality control over what comes into the production, and they secure the rights, they do those licenses. I am a music supervisor. I've been very lucky to get to do that for the past 13 years, and it's just been a blast. And I'm here to help you. I really appreciate you listening or watching if you're watching. Thanks so much for listening and tuning in. I'm Jody Friedman from License Your Music. Follow us on Facebook at License Your Music with Jody Friedman, or Facebook or Instagram at License Your Music. And make sure you come by the website, grab your free guide on how to get your music heard by music supervisors. Get on the wait list for our next masterclass. Check out our other offerings. We've got License Your Music World Tour, where we take you around the world and you learn about the state of music licensing in other territories around the world, so you can start building that global empire if you're already licensing your music and you want to expand. It's a great course for that. It's a lot of fun, and I made it super affordable, so come by and check it out. And we got free training, video training on our YouTube, and some other training on the website. So come by, there's all sorts of goodies and fun stuff. I'll just keep creating content. You find what works for you. Thanks so much for listening. Stay cool. Peace.